This video accompanies the paper Auction Algorithms for Market Equilibrium under Weak Growth Substitute Demands. My name is Edin Husić, and this is joint work with Jugal Garg and my advisor László Végh. Throughout the video, we use only necessary concepts to illustrate the main idea, and for full generality, refer to the paper. In particular, while the main results hold for exchange market, in the video we only work with Fisher markets. So what is a Fisher market? So a Fisher market is a set of m divisible goods G and a set of n agents A. Each of these agents comes equipped with a budget BI to the market. So this is what the market is. And what we want to find in a market is a set of prices for the goods such that the market clears, meaning that the supply is the same as the demand. Here we assume that there is a fixed amount of each good available, and without loss of generality, we can assume that there is one unit of each good J. For each agent I, a demand is given as a function di. This function di takes as input some prices P and budget bi, and then it outputs the preferred bundle of agent I at the prices P and budget bi. Here, by a bundle, we mean a vector of goods, and instead of preferred, we also might use optimal or demanded bundle. Knowing what the supply and demand is, let us formally define market equilibrium. We say that the prices P and the bundles Xi, one for each agent I, form a market equilibrium if the following hold. Namely, Xi is exactly the demanded bundle of agent I at prices P and the budget by Bi, and moreover, for any good that has price bigger than 0, we want it to be fully sold. In particular here, we only allow the goods with price 0 to be undersold. Knowing what the market equilibrium is, we can go on about finding it. The first thing one could try is the following process known as the Dolment. We could start with some arbitrary prices P, and then we could ask the agents what do they want at these prices. Naturally, some of the goods will be under-demanded and some of the goods will be over-demanded. We can take some particular good J and try to fix it, meaning that if it is over-demanded, we will increase its price until the demand meets supply and stop. Or if it's under-demanded, we could lower its price until the demand meets supply and we stop. And then we repeat in this way until necessary. And this is a very natural dynamics for finding a market equilibrium, and it has been proposed by Walras in 1874. And essentially, Walras proposed this after observing how the stock market works. Now, while this is very natural, it really doesn't have to converge always. So let us go back to this atomic procedure and think intuitively why would we think that this is a natural way of finding an equilibrium. Well, intuition is the following. We suppose that we raised one price. This means that the good became more expensive, and therefore agents might not want as much of this good as before. Therefore, we would expect that the demand for this good falls. But then agents have more money that they could now spend on other goods. And because now they're spending more on other goods, it is reasonable to assume the demand for these other goods increases. So if you want to say this in just one sentence, we would say something like this. Increasing the price of a good J will lead to the increase in the demand of other goods whose price did not change. And in fact, it turns out that atonement converges exactly when this property is satisfied by the demands. This property is formally known as growth substitutes, and it's defined as follows. So let us look at the demand di of an agent I. Also, let us look at two price vectors, P and Q. You can think of this as P that was a starting vector of prices, and Q is the new, slightly increased prices. And then, for the demand of agent I, we want the following to hold. We want that his demand at prices P, which we denote by Xi, and his demand at prices Q, which we denote by Yi, respect the following condition, meaning that for all goods J whose price remained the same in P and Q, for those goods, agent only can ask for more than he had at the lower price, meaning that whatever he had of these goods at price P, he also wanted the same at price Q, because for this particular good J, the price did not change. This concept is introduced by Arrow and Hurwitz in 1958, where they studied the local stability of equilibria under Dolment. Later with Bloch, they actually show that equilibria is globally stable under Dolment, or in other words, they show that the Dolment converges to an equilibrium if the aggregate demand satisfies GS. Well, aggregate demand is just the sum of all the demands of all agents. And now it's really trivial to check if all agents satisfy gross substitute conditions, then also the aggregate demand will satisfy the gross substitute condition. Having said all of that, let us go and see some example of gross substitute demands. So usually in literature, demand is given via a concave utility function. Namely, each agent comes to the market and it also has a utility function that measures how happy he is with a given bundle. And then his demanded bundle can simply be described as the set of all bundles that maximize the utility subject to the budget constraint. And this is how a lot of literature works, but in this paper, we only assume the demands and we don't need the access to the utility. Famous examples of the WGS utilities are linear utility, utilities with constant elasticity of the substitution, and the Cobb-Douglas utility. What about complexity of finding an equilibrium? Well, for WGS utilities, the first polynomial time algorithm was given in 2005. This has been followed by a series of very important work, but here we mentioned just a few. We mentioned that there is a recent algorithm that just is a simple ascending price algorithm. And we will mention that the discrete variant of the Dolment was shown to converge to an approximate equilibrium. On the other hand, if we try to go outside of WGS, it's kind of hopeless because finding equilibria when utilities are just outside of gross substitutability is PPAD complete. Of course, polynomial time algorithms are known for some particular classes that are not WGS. Okay. What about auctions now? So we mentioned what is a market, we mentioned Dolment, and we defined weak gross substitutes. So let us also introduce auction algorithms. So auction algorithms can be seen as a subclass to Dolment where prices only ever go up. Remember that Dolment, the prices could go up and down, but in the auctions, the prices only ever go up. And here the idea is that in the market, we can define some ground rules, and then the agents themselves will just outbid each other and take the goods from each other. And in the process, we hope that they will convert to an equilibrium. As such, this does not require a central authority, for example, as in Dolment, that would collect all the demands and then determine what happens with the price, but rather the agents themselves, this process finds the prices. Another benefit of the auction algorithms is that it's robust, meaning that small changes allow for various extensions and generalizations. There has been a lot of work on auction algorithms, and actually it has been introduced already in the 80s and 90s for the assignment and transportation problem. Another side where auction algorithms are really interesting is the indivisible goods. That is, when the goods are indivisible, they cannot be divided several pieces. This is essentially, in this case, the gross substitute are exact if and only if condition when the auction algorithm works in a way. Regarding the divisible goods, the first auction algorithm was given by Garg and Kapoor in 2004. And this is not Jugal Garg, but it's another Garg. And this algorithm was for linear utilities. This algorithm was also later extended to a restricted subclass of WGS utilities. And since then, it has been open to design auction algorithm for a whole WGS utilities or the demands. Now we are going to give some ideas how to design an auction algorithm for finding market equilibrium in Fisher markets when agents have WGS demands. So let us give a general overview of the algorithm. As we said, the algorithm requires some ground rules, so this is essentially what they are. In short, we first maintain some global conditions. That is, we maintain some market prices P. And in particular, the rule is that the price will only ever increase by a factor of 1 plus epsilon. Moreover, for every good J, we will have two parts, part Lj, which is being sold at the price Pj, and this is the lower price, and the rest of this good is being sold at the higher price, which is 1 plus epsilon Pj. And in particular, we assume that all goods are fully sold. Moreover, we will have some local constraints for each agent individually. So each agent will maintain some set of individual prices Pi, and these individual prices will be sandwiched between the lower prices and the higher prices. In particular, for these individual prices, we will have three important invariants that we maintain. So throughout, agent I will own a bundle Ci, and this bundle Ci that she owns is dominated by the demanded bundle at the individual prices Pi. Now, this is what the agent owns, and let us see how the agent pays for what she owns. So if the individual price of agent I for a good J is smaller, strictly smaller than the higher price, then the agent will just pay the lower price Pj for this amount. Otherwise, that means if the individual price of agent I for the good J is equal as the higher price, then the agent also has to pay the higher price. So these are the invariants. And so what the idea of the algorithm is to consider agent one by one. And if some agent has a surplus, then she will try to use the surplus to get more goods from other agents by outbidding them on these other goods. Okay. And a key subroutine that we will need is described shortly. So as we said, each agent I owns a bundle Ci that is dominated by the demanded bundle at the individual prices. And we will use the following subroutine, which is called find new prices. And find new prices will deliver us new prices P tilde. This P tilde will have several properties. First, it will maybe be slightly increased on these with respect to the individual prices, but it will never go overshoot over the high prices. Moreover, whatever agent has until now that it owns this Ci, it will be dominated by the demanded bundle at the new prices P tilde I. Right, we had already that this Ci is demanded by Xi at the individual and at the individual prices Pi, but now even when we get the new prices P tilde, we still, this amount Ci is dominated by this. Okay, and additionally, the key property is that whenever we really want significantly more, meaning that whenever this demand for the good J is significantly more than what agent already has, then the individual price is the high price. In a way, the agent I is then really willing to pay this, this higher price here. Okay. And this is really the first place where the WGS condition is used. And this subroutine can be implemented in many ways for different utilities. So for linear utilities, we can find like simpler direct algorithm or some convex programming approach. Similarly, for CES and Cobb-Douglas utilities, we can solve a convex program and essentially get this find new prices. And in general, for WGS demand, as soon as we have some condition as like bound on elasticity, we can design some simple adjustment procedure. And we will not go into details anymore about this. We'll just assume that we have this subroutine, and let us see how we can use it in the algorithm. So the algorithm works as follows. At the initialization, we will simply pick low enough prices such that some agents demand all of the goods. We can think that there is just one agent and we set the price low enough, and then this agent takes all of the goods. And this will take care of the invariant that all the goods are sold throughout. Then algorithm is further partitioned into iteration. And iteration is really measures the time that it takes for one good to increase its price from PJ, from the low price to the high price 1 plus epsilon PJ. Essentially, it measures how long does it take for some LJ to become 0 so the price increases. And iterations are going to be very easy to count, and the main complexity is going to be considered into steps. And really the steps are the basic elements of an iteration. And in one step, we are just going to consider one agent. And if this agent has a surplus, she will try to use the surplus to take more goods from other agents by outbidding. So let us just explain what outbidding is. So suppose that there is some good J, and a part of this good is being sold at the price PJ. The other part is being sold at a higher price, 1 plus epsilon PJ. Comes an agent and demands once more to buy this green part. Now, she can buy this green part, but what she will do, she will take away some this good J from the agents that pay PJ for it, and she will start paying the higher price for it. And in this process, this part of the good will become hers. Overall, the agent spent a bit more money on the items. And this is the outbid. And this is the only way for goods to change the owner. So this is the only way how the goods move between the agents. Okay, so let us now dive into one particular step. So suppose we have an agent I and it's his turn to be into a step. Now, by one of the invariants, we had that this agent before the step starts owns CI, and the CI is dominated by what she wants at these individual prices. Then this agent queries find new prices, and it gets new prices P tilde that are slightly increased with respect to the individual prices, do not overshoot. Moreover, at these new P tilde prices, agent wants everything that she already owns and maybe more. And we said if she really wants more, she's willing to pay more. And now, depending on what the P tilde is, there'll be several cases for all of the goods. So suppose that for some good J, this individual price was strictly smaller than the higher price, and that the new P tilde J is the higher price. And that really, like by the invariant, means that I was paying the PJ for the amount CIJ. So now, because this new price is the high price, she has to start paying the higher price also for the good that she already had before. This is what she had before. And additionally, she really wants another part of this, and she will also have to outbid other agents for this part more than she wanted. Okay, and then it could happen that the individual price was already at the higher price and the P tilde is the higher price. That means that agent I was paying the higher price for the amount CIJ, but in case she really wants more, which is described by this YJ, she will just outbid for as much as she wants from the other agent and start paying more. And then the only third case that we have because of this condition B is that the PIJ was strictly less than the higher price. And also this new price P tilde J is less than 1 plus than the higher price. Well, then also by B, by this part in particular, this is just contrapositive. We also have that agent really doesn't want that much more because she is not willing to pay the high price. So the agent will not seek to buy more of J. But really the main message here is that if you look at all three cases, agent either gets the Y part that she wanted under these new P tilde prices. That means she outbids for whatever she wants. And the only case when she doesn't get Y is because there was not enough of the blue part that she could outbid to get what she wanted. But in this case, the price of a good increased. So in each turn, agent either gets what she wants or she increases the price of a good. And we will use this later in the analysis, but before we go there, I will mention that here is like the second and I think the more important step for why the auction works. Imagine that, for example, in one of these three cases, for example, in the second one, agent really wanted all of whatever is available at the lower price. That means she will outbid everything of the blue part, and everything will become red, and then the price will increase. And so what is really hidden here is that when the price of this item really increases, right, other agents are fine with that. Like they will be able to keep the variant 1 exactly by the WGS condition, because if the price of this good increases, their demand for other goods can only increase. So they'll be able to keep the variant 1 satisfied. And I think this is really the most important part why the auction can work, because if this was not the case, then simply like increasing the price would be very hard to maintain and keep track of what is happening all over the market. Okay, having that in mind, let us go back and discuss the running time. So as we said, in each step, agent either gets what she wanted, meaning she will spend all the money that she has on the other items, or she will increase the price of a good. Okay, so for the running time, let us first mention for the iterations how to count these. As we said before, iteration is just measures, represents the price increase by a factor of 1 plus epsilon. As the price of a good can be at most the whole budget of all the agents. For example, if we have just one good, then they will just spend all the money on this one good. Then we can simply just see that they're at most this order of m divided by epsilon times log of sum of all of this, like the highest price divided by the smallest initial price. This p min is the smallest among the prices in the initialization, and so this log term will tell you how many times you can increase the price, and the m is because you have m items. Now for the steps, let us now consider n consecutive steps, meaning that each agent takes a turn once, and let's call it this a round. Now, if the price increase happened here, then we don't have to count for this. It is counted already in the iteration. So let's assume that the price increase did not happen. Well, what this means is that in every turn, every agent got everything that she wanted. And she got it through the outbid. And outbid pays 1 plus epsilon more than it was already spent, then eventually the amount of the money spent on the good increases. By how much it increases? Well, within a round, you can think that all of these agents had some total surplus. And because the price increase did not happen in this one round, that means that the total surplus was used for the outbid. But it means that the total surplus decreased by a factor of 1 plus epsilon in each round. And therefore, you can get a bound on how many rounds you can have before you either finish or the price increase happens. And this is used to get the running time. I will not state it here anymore. This is just to get the idea how to analyze it. So this gives you some idea how the algorithm works and what is the running time. So now just to recap, so what we have given is an auction algorithm for finding approximate equilibria in Fisher markets, and agents have WGS demands. And as we said, this generalizes to exchange markets. And also, this generalizes for finding a slightly different market equilibria called spanning restricted market equilibria. And this notion was proposed as a relaxation of the discrete net social welfare problem. And in particular, using this auction algorithm, we were able to give a constant factor approximation algorithm for the net social welfare under budget separable piecewise linear concave utilities. And additionally, like suppose that you have a market where WGS is only satisfied approximately, then you can modify this auction algorithm. Actually, you can show that the auction algorithm will still produce some kind of approximate market equilibrium. So this really shows its robustness and applicability to different concepts. If you like this video, I invite you to read the paper to find out about more details. Thank you.